The 2024 presidential race is heating up and getting interesting quite a bit now. Nikki Haley, who's now announced her run for office, recently suggested mental competency tests for politicians aged 75 and over, a clear dig at Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Well, CNN's Don Lemon had some things to say, and let's just say it didn't go over very well.
She says people, politicians or something are not in their prime. Nikki Haley isn't in her prime. Sorry. When a woman is considered to be in her prime in her 20s and 30s and maybe 40s.
What are you talking? Wait.
That's not according to me.
Prime for what?
It depends. I mean, it's just like prime. If you look it up, it'll say, if you Google when is a woman in her prime, it'll say 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Are you talking about prime for like childbearing, or are you talking about prime for being president?
What the facts are. Google it.
Just Google it. That's his source of information, his research. Google it. Joining me now is the host of Money Talk with Melanie and the member of Project 21, Melanie. Collette, also here, Media Research Center contributing writer Stephanie Hamill. I'll start with you, Melanie. First time on the show. Welcome. So what about this? I mean, that is a straight up sexist remark, is it not? And what do you think Don should, what should be his punishment for that? And there should be something, I think.
I have many recommendations as a 52-year-old woman. None of them fit for family TV. I think we all know that he's not a big thinker. If he thinks that Google is the arbiter of what constitutes being in your prime or not, he's not a very critical thinker. And I also would wonder and would ask Don, what does that mean for him?
Oh. May have lost a little bit of freeze there, but let me bring it over to Stephanie. Stephanie, I often get in arguments with my wife, and it's some of her basis for her argument. She'll say, well, Google it. And I know what that means. That means I have no idea what I'm talking about, and I can't win this, but I'll just say Google it to get out of the corner. Don got cornered on his own show on national television.
I think that even bothers me more about his remarks is that he prepared this, he Googled it, and still thought it would be appropriate to say that on national television with his two co-hosts who happen to be women. Now, this is the treatment that Republican women get all the time if they're conservative. Keep in mind the former UN ambassador and now presidential candidate Nikki Haley. She is not only a minority, but she's a woman. And the left always complains that there's not enough diversity, not enough women in the GOP. But then when there is somebody who's running for office and now for president, then they have to completely destroy her and trash her for no reason. His remarks were so idiotic. They're sexist. They're bigoted. And as for what he should have to do or some sort of punishment, look, you can say whatever you want. We live in America, but we can criticize you for that. And so much so, he's gotten so much criticism and so much backlash that he has issued an apology on Twitter.
Well, let me read it. Allow me to read it.
Nikki Haley.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but let me throw that apology up there. He did. He said, I'm quoting, "The reference I made to a woman's, quote, prime, unquote, this morning was inartful and irrelevant, as colleagues and loved ones have pointed out, and I regret it. A woman's age doesn't define her either personally or professionally." Let me bring it back over to you, Melanie. Melanie, Don Lemon is a viper. He attacks people on the right all the time. I don't know he's as forgiving as he's asking the public to be forgiving of him right now. What are your thoughts? Should we forgive Don Lemon for that massively inartful, sexist comment?
I'm conflicted. As a Christian, I think that, of course, we should forgive Don Lemon and show him some grace. The center side of me says absolutely not. Let him fry. Let every 50 and above woman go after him constantly on Twitter. Let the Twitter mob get him. Women over 50 are out here killing it. Have you seen the grandmothers these days? We're keeping ourselves in shape. We're professionally successful. Don Lemon can stick that comment.
What about it, Steph? I don't know. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to Google Don Lemon's age, but I have a hunch he's over 50. Has he passed his prime as well?
I mean, apparently not in Don Lemon's eyes. I mean, he thinks he's probably God. But, his remarks are just kind of ridiculous and out of touch, because what Nikki Haley was trying to suggest is that there are a lot of politicians who have held office since before I was born. So she's talking about fresh faces, fresh ideas, maybe a little bit of a younger generation, and that's not an issue. And age isn't a big problem, right? We saw former President Donald Trump. He's in the older range, but he was with it, and he was competent, and he was high energy. And then compare that to Joe Biden, 80 years old, and you don't hear Don Lemon complain about that. So again, it was just a ridiculous statement. I'm not really that outraged by it. I'm not surprised because this is Don Lemon. He's not a very smart man. That's why he was demoted from his talk show. And so I'm not surprised.
I Google him. He's 56. Melanie, final thought on the 56-year-old Don Lemon suggesting 51-year-old Nikki Haley has passed her prime. He might be past his prime for television. What
Exactly. He's 5 years older than her. It's the audacity for me, and it was completely sexist because does he think he's in his prime? Specifically when he took that major L, getting demoted to the morning show, and he's going to talk about who is not in their prime when Nikki Haley is running for president and you got demoted to a morning show.